Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. It's another week. We are getting so close to the end of the year. I just can't believe it. But today, it's Monday, so we've got a new author on today. And today, we are going way out into outer space with sci-fi author Jeffrey A. Carver. And I have on the Blog Talk site a link to his website, which you should definitely check out. He has so much information packed in there. And I do have his bio here, so I'll read that to you. If you haven't had a chance to cross a Jeffrey A. Carver book, you're in for a treat. So he writes action-packed stories that excite, compel, and entertain. As a fiction writer, his favorite themes are star travel, alien contact, artificial intelligence, and transcendent realities, and the moral, ethical, and spiritual implications of these possibilities. Though he's primarily known as a hard sci-fi writer, the characters are always the most important part of his stories. At various times, he has been a scuba diving instructor, a quahog driver, I don't even know if I said that right, a UPS sorter, a word processing consultant, a private pilot, and a stay-at-home dad. He now lives with his family in the Boston area, where he divides his shrinking time between home duties and writing. He is a member of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, the Authors Guild, and he has an author-owned publishing collaborative of the Book View Cafe. And again, check out his website because there are so many great tips there for sci-fi writers and readers. He has lots of great book recommendations on there too. So without any further ado, are you there, Jeff?
Hi, Lisa. Good to be here.
Hi. Great to have you on.
So we're on
you
opposite
have a brand
ends
new
of the
book out.
I do.
Sorry,
Actually,
I didn't mean to talk over you.
Out.
You do. Yeah.
My new book is actually two books. It was written as a single novel, The Wreaths of Time, but it was so big by the time I was finished with it. It took me 11 years to write. By the time I was finished,
wow.
It was clearly too long for one book, and it's really two pretty long books, 2 volumes. One story, The Wreaths of Time, and Crucible of Time. And they were published just a couple of months apart.
Yeah, and these are part of the Chaos Chronicles, right?
That's right.
Do they need to be read in order? Should we start with book 1?
Well, you can read these without having read the earlier books. If you do start with the earlier books, you'll have a fuller picture of everything because obviously a lot came before and the story built up. But I did my best to make this accessible to anyone who wanted to just dive right in, and I do have recaps of the earlier books at the beginning of The Wreaths of Time. So if you haven't read them in a while or if you haven't read them at all, you can still jump right in.
So can you tell us, without a bunch of spoilers, what is the Chaos Chronicles? What are we jumping into with Crucible of Time?
Oh, boy. It's a story. It's really a story. It's an odyssey. It starts with one human who has an alien encounter, but once we're really into the whole series, it's the odyssey of a whole company of friends, a human, alien friends, AI friends, and they're all exiled from their homeworlds, and they're facing situations and realities that they just don't understand and they don't know why they're thrown into, and forces that sometimes seem infinite and unknowable. They're really up against some cosmic things, but it's really at heart it's a journey of reluctant heroes, and it takes them across thousands of light years and back into deep time. And there are worlds that have to be saved, and they've been volunteered for the job. That's it in a nutshell.
I love that. Reluctant heroes is always a great, for me, when I'm as a reader, I always enjoy reluctant heroes because they're so relatable. Because most of us don't wake up in the morning and go, I think I want to go save the universe today, right?
Right. It's like, I think I want to successfully make my coffee. So
yes.
So
we live on a much smaller scale.
So this particular story starts out at the edge of the galaxy, and they've been through a lot of trials and turmoil and are trying to recover, but they're not given any rest. New situation comes up worse than the last situation, and they pretty much have to deal with it. So it's really a story of friendship as well as the relationships of these people are very, very important, integral to the story.
Yeah, I saw on your website, and I read that in your bio too, that even though you're a hard sci-fi writer, you said the characters make all the difference, right?
Characters are what it's all about. There's no story without good characters, and so for me, the hard science element is important, and I love science, and I love trying to create believable worlds, but it all started in my mind with the characters, and that's really what's central. Is what's their life story, and where are they going, and where do they go in relation to each other, because they all have different pasts and different desires for the future. So it's really interesting to see how they live together.
So are you a plotter, or are you, I always hear everybody call them pantsers. Are you writing by the seat of your pants? Do you have a big, plot chart? How does the story come together for you?
I understand that, I think this came from George Martin. I'm not certain that it's gardeners versus architects. Some people are more elegant than plotters versus pantsers.
Right.
I'm more of a gardener. I'm a pretty intuitive kind of guy. I often start a story not really knowing where it's going. I might know where it's going in the end, but I don't know what comes in the middle. And the only way I can find out is to write it. And so I do I certainly do some planning and rough outlining. And I did write one novel not in this series, where I did carefully outline, and I tried to follow the outline, and it worked okay. But fundamentally, I'm on as much of a journey as the characters are, and I dive in, and I hope that when I get to the end, it makes sense and holds together. But that's what rewriting is for too. It never really does in the first draft. Sometimes in the second draft. By the third and fourth draft, then it should be pulling together and be a story that somebody will really want to read.
Yeah.
So
what is it that drew you to write sci-fi? Was that always what you wanted to write? Was it what you read, or?
It's what I read from when I can remember beginning to read for pleasure. Science fiction was always what I was most drawn to. I read as a kid. I read this Tom Swift Jr. Inventor books and the Tom Corbett Space Cadet books, and then I moved into Heinlein and Asimov and all of the classic writers, and it always just held more interest for me than any other genre of writing or of reading. I mean, I like other kinds of books as well, but that's what always grabbed me. It was always about possibilities and the universe and things we might do, and things where things might go wrong, and just grabbed me from a young age and still does today.
Right. Do you get excited when NASA has those big discoveries and they send back pictures from Mars and all that kind of thing? Does that feed the little boy in you?
Of course it does. How can it not?
I was lucky. I got to meet.
When we had the first landing on Mars, the first landing on Mars was by the Viking craft. I don't remember what year it was, but I got a phone call from my brother who said he's watching on TV as a spacecraft has just landed on Mars, and they're interviewing Ray Bradbury, and here he is talking on the phone to his science fiction writer brother. He said it never felt more science fictional to him than at that moment.
Oh, I love that. I got to meet Ray a couple times before he passed away, and you could see anytime he was talking about Mars or space, his eyes would light up. Oh my gosh, that and talking about writing. It was, I think some people are just born sci-fi, writers. They just think of, he used to talk about that writing about space and the future meant that you could have no rules, you could make up your own and all that kind of thing. And I find that fascinating because I'm not a sci-fi writer because the science always scares me, but the ramifications of the science, I guess I should say. Do you like to play with those kind of plots?
Well, I love to. And I wouldn't say that there are no rules. I think you get to create your own rules within certain boundaries. If you want to write stories that are believable to a sort of science literate audience, then your rules are maybe different than if you're writing a story for a more fantastic oriented audience. And once you've created your rules, you have to pay attention to them. But this particular series is named the Chaos Chronicles because I was very interested in chaos theory, and I had read James Gleick's book Chaos, and I read an article in the Planetary Report, which is the publication of the Planetary Society, about how asteroids in our solar system can be bumped into close encounters with the Earth by chaotic movements of bodies in the system. And that started the kind of domino effect of ideas in my head that led to a guy out on Triton, the moon of Neptune, encountering an alien who tells him, "You're the one person who can save the Earth from a comet that's falling that nobody's going to see until it's too late." And that's really what set the whole thing up. And
wow.
And from a writing point of view, it was odd in a way. Well, odd is the right word. I tend to write long, and I had just finished writing a really long book that was much more fantastic. It was called Dragon Rigger. It was science fiction, but it had dragons. And these long books were leaving me kind of like exhausted. Years writing a book, and so I decided to try something different. I would do a series of short novels with a single story arc. And back then, nobody was talking about story arcs. It was before all the TV shows were doing that. So to me, this was a really innovative idea. Now it's like, okay, you're writing a series, big deal. But to me, this was a breakthrough, conceptual breakthrough.
Right.
So I could write each book quickly and build this long story. And so the first novel I did pretty quickly for me. And the second one took a little longer and was a little longer. And then they just kept growing until, there were other things that came into play. But when I was doing The Reefs of Time, which became that, and The Crucible of Time, 11 years to write that was not in my game plan at the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, but
life throws you. Were you writing other books in between? Is that why it took 11 years to finish?
That was all working on those books and raising a family and doing other things that took time and energy away from writing. But I set some challenges for myself in these books that were the bar was a little higher than the book before, and it took me a while to figure out really what I was doing. And I don't know, I keep doing that, and I know that this is a good thing objectively. I know it's good to always set the bar a little higher and try to stretch a little more and just do it interesting. Right. But sometimes it takes a while to get over that bar. And in this case,
so So, did you ever think of I know a lot of the sci-fi books, they go toward comics as well. Are you interested in that kind of thing, comics and graphic novels and all that kind of stuff? Do you see your books ever going in that direction?
Well, I do not myself work in that medium. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, your books would be great for this. You want to work with me on it?" I'd be all for it.
Okay.
So anybody out there is listening who is working in the comic or graphic novel field, look me up. Similarly,
yeah.
I think this series would be a great mini-series if anybody's listening.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's not it's something that I like, and I would be happy to see it go that way. But it's not my particular area of expertise. But my job has been to get to work on the next book and get these books out in front of people so that they'll hear about them, because they don't find their audience automatically. So you do things like and podcast shows.
So.
Things like that.
So, what was your writing journey like? When did you decide I'm going to be a writer, and how did you make that happen?
Well, I think I took my first serious stab at writing when I was about 12. My best friend growing up and I had read some stories together, and we decided to write a story together. We each wrote our own version. And my version was called The Mysterious Midnight Ride. And it was illustrated by me. And
See, comics.
he and I were the main characters. Yeah, I was actually a big comic reader as a kid. And I actually still have that. I still have that illustrated one copy edition on my desk somewhere. And excuse me. And I didn't really do anything more until I was in high school, and I was given an assignment to write a short story, and I did that, and I really enjoyed that. And then when I was in college, I really started saying, I like this writing business, and I want to pursue it. And I was at a well-known university. They had a strong English department, but not they didn't really have much to do with science fiction or have anybody there who knew about it. So I was a little bit on my own for that. But I started writing stories and submitting them to the magazines. And it took a number of years, and I collected a lot of rejection slips. And finally I sold my first short story to a little magazine in Boston. And then I sold one to Galaxy magazine. That was my first sale to a real science fiction venue. And then something weird happened. I've been submitting stories to some anthology editors, and an editor named Terry Carr, the late Terry Carr, I'm sorry to say, did a series of anthologies called Universe, and he'd been giving me positive feedback on my stories. He hadn't bought one, and he sent one back saying, "I'm not going to buy it, but I like it, and I like your writing, and I have a deal to line up some new writers for a new publishing line. Would you be interested in writing a novel if we offered you a contract?" And I
wow.
thought for half a second about that, and I sat down and started hammering out an idea for a novel. I had not had the slightest intention of writing a novel at that point, but once that carrot was put in front of me, I was on it. I was on my portable typewriter, banging it in. And that novel was published. It's called Seas of Ernath, and it's was out of print for many years, but it's still available as an ebook now, or I should say available again in my own edition. And it's part of this what became my Star Rigger universe, which is a different series of novels from the Chaos Chronicles. It's 5 books, I think, set in that universe, and so I got started writing novels. That's when I realized that I'm more of a novel writer.
Right? So do you love that? I know I do. I'm a hybrid author, so I have a publisher for one series, and then I always have a series that I'm writing that I put out myself. And I love that books don't go out of print now, and that you can bring something back and get it back out there, so the books don't vanish like they used to. You have your own little publishing business, right? So are you doing that same thing? Are you putting things out yourself?
Yeah, I was actually, I could say that I was an early adopter of ebooks and getting my books back into print, and that was because of between books 3 and 4 of this series, there was a gap of some years, and the first 3 books were out of print, and I said, I've got to, give the audience a chance with a new book coming out, and so I created ebooks with the help of some other people that I put out for free for quite a while, and then once the Kindle platform and all that took off, I made them a little more professional and put them up for sale. But I had pretty much all of my backlist available, and this is a career saver for many, many writers. The new phenomenon where you can put your backlist up for very little cost and make them available to readers. And I became a member of a group called Bookview Cafe, which is an author cooperative. It's somewhere between 40 and 50 writers who are all traditionally published. And if you're a reader of science fiction or romance, or there's some paranormal writers, you would recognize a bunch of the names. And it's a co-op formed to help each other, first of all, to get their backlist back into print, but more and more people are doing originals. And the co-op model is that we each write our books, and we get another member will, for example, do a cover design for you. A different member will do the ebook formatting if you are not able to do it yourself, and that sort of thing. So we help each other get our books into print, and more doing originals that way. So when I finished,
that's exciting.
It is, and it's a wonderful community of people, and a lot of very good writers. The late Ursula K. Le Guin was one of the founding members of it, actually. And when I finished The Reefs of Time, Crucible of Time, it was under a contract with Tor Books, which had done the first 4 books of the series. But they said, you know what? It's been too many years. You're on your own with these. So we had an amicable parting of ways, and they decided to bring them out with the help of Book Cafe. So this is my first venture into original. It's self-publishing, but it's also hybrid in the sense that it's done with the in association with this group of other writers. So it's kind of a hybrid between hybrid and self-publishing.
And traditional.
Adventure in learning how to do all of this.
Right. How many books have you written? Do you know?
18 at this point.
18?
I think that's right. 18, yeah.
Nice. And are they all back up now? Are they all available?
They are all available. There are a couple that I don't control the rights to. I did a Battlestar Galactica novelization. I novelized the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries that started back in 2003, I think it was. It started the 4-year series, and that was fun. And one other book that was one of these shared universe things in association with Roger Zelazny, and that's a book that I don't hold the rights to, but I did manage to get the current rights holder to put up an ebook of that, so you can get that from the Kindle store also. That's called Alien Speedway, Roger Zelazny's Alien Speedway. It's about a kid who's orphaned on Earth, and he goes off to make his fortune in a solar system where they race spaceships. And
wow,
so much fun. That was just a ball.
Well, do you remember who was the first when you were? It sounds like Terry Carr was a great editor encouraging you, but did you get to meet any other sci-fi writers? Was there anybody who really, encouraged you that you're on the right path, you can do this, kid? Was there anybody who kept you going through those rejections?
Not really. I was more isolated than I needed to be, as I later understood. There was a whole world of conventions and science fiction fandom that I just wasn't really aware of. And
I see.
I could have gone to a convention right in Boston where I lived, but I didn't know about it, and so I was pretty much on my own until I started to make those sales, and then I started to get clued in and make some connections. So I don't really recommend that as a way to do it. If you are an aspiring writer, go to some conferences, attend some conventions. Most writers and editors are very friendly and accessible. I just didn't know it at the time, so I might have shortened my path to publication if I had gotten myself kind of into that community sooner. So that's something I regret. Yeah,
because it really, I have found anyway that writers it's such an interesting profession because we're not in competition. We're all colleagues, and you can't write fast enough for all the readers. So you want everybody to succeed. And I know when I was starting out, I was so wowed that writers were so kind and encouraging, and so for the aspiring writers out there, don't be afraid to go to a conference and tell someone that you love their writing and you're working on your first book, because writers are really cool. We live in caves writing books, but when we get out, we want to help.
We like to gather around the campfire. Tell stories to each other. Tell stories about writing, about knocking down that plot bear and subduing it.
Right, getting through the middle of that book. Ugh.
Yeah. And a lot of writers do pay forward by teaching writing in one form or another, and I've done that. I've taught at many workshops, and I have a free online guide at writesf.com. It's just a guide to younger aspiring writers about some of the basics of writing science fiction, and you can just go there and look at it, and you don't have to sign up or anything. And
you used to have a TV program for middle school kids to write, right?
That was a fun adventure. Yes, it was. It was a project funded by the state of Massachusetts. It was an educational program that went out by satellite feed. Remember satellite feed? Before the internet had really taken off, and it went into middle school classrooms around the country. And so I would do a presentation about one aspect of writing or another, and then we'd have a phone connection back from some of the classrooms to the studio so I could talk to the kids and have guest authors. And that ran for 2 seasons, I think. And that was just a lot of fun. The kids have so much energy and creativity that it's just really great to see them and to just give us even the smallest helping hand is a kind of a pleasure to give. And
I love that you did that.
There's a young writers workshop series that high school sophomores come in the spring and in all kinds of writing. And working with those incredibly talented writers at the New England Young Writers Conference, it's so much fun to work with younger writers and see them grow. It also gives you a feeling that you're
I can't believe that we're running out of time, but we are. And so before, it goes by so fast. But before we go, how can readers get in touch with you? Do you just want them to go to your website? Are you on Facebook? How should they reach out?
I am on Facebook. Probably if they want to just send me an email or something, they can use a contact form on my website at starrigger.net. If you just Google my name, you'll find it. And I'm not terribly active on Facebook, but I am on Facebook. So probably if they want to specifically reach out and ask a question or something, using my website contact form would be the best way.
Okay, perfect. Well, everyone run out and get The Crucible of Time and The Chaos Chronicles. And thanks so much for being on today.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, good luck, and I can't wait for the next book. Hopefully it won't be a bunch of years, right? It'll be soon. Soon.
Working on it right now.
Okay, thanks so much for being on. Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.
From the excitement of nominations to the applause after the opening of an envelope at the big award shows, The Hollywood Reporter is your source for the inside scoop on the moments leading up to and celebrating the wins of your favorite films, actors, and all the people that made them. Follow the race at HollywoodReporter.com for predictions, reviews, and voters. Check out the THR Awards Hub for everything you need for award season coverage. Visit THR.com today and subscribe to our newsletters so you don't miss a beat.
You slept through your alarm, missed the train, and your breakfast sandwich, cold. Sounds like you could use some luck.
I'm Victoria Cash, and Lucky Land is where people go every day to get lucky. At Lucky Land, you can play over 100 casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Go to LuckyLandSlots.com and get lucky today. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.